Every year with smartphones, we have a new in thing. 2018 was the year of the notches. 2019 was the year of high megapixel cameras. From the first 2 months alone, it seems like 2020 is gonna be the year of the foldables. So far, we've witnessed two major foldable launches in the Moto RAZR and the Galaxy Z Flip. So today, let's see how these two foldable phones actually differ from each other. Hey guys, Ash here from C4D Tech, and if you do end up finding this video interesting, please subscribe and turn on notifications by hitting that bell icon. Let's now get started. Guys, before we start, I am currently giving away a Galaxy Z Flip. If you've not entered that giveaway yet, check out the link in the description below. Now, with Motorola and Samsung both going for the flip form factor for their foldables, there are similarities here, yes, but there are differences too. So let's start with the Galaxy Z Flip. This phone looks premium. We've got a glass finish, Gorilla Glass 6 in fact, the metal body and the also satisfying flip. In fact, the one thing that stands out about the build of the Galaxy Z Flip is just how much it resembles a finished product. I personally didn't get my hands on the Galaxy Fold, so the Z Flip is my first foldable from Samsung and it impressed me. One of the most important things about a flip phone is the hinge. Samsung have really nailed the friction here, and I like the deliberate amount of force it takes to open this thing and then close it. It lacks the snap of old flip phones, but then for a first-gen product, I'm very happy with the build quality. On the other hand, we have the Moto RAZR. Motorola is flying high on nostalgia here. This body, the camera placement, even the second screen, everything is very reminiscent of the iconic RAZR flip phone. Which is why, even though the phone doesn't feel as premium as the Z Flip, I still cannot dock points for that. Following the old RAZR aesthetic was a bold choice, and I think from a design perspective, it might appeal to a wide demographic. Another area where Moto has a clear advantage over Samsung is with the crease. Motorola has gone for a water drop kind of mechanism where the display doesn't actually crease. Instead, it curves inwards. So while the crease is pretty prominent on the Galaxy Z Flip, you just can't miss it no matter how you put it. That's not the case with the RAZR. But this mechanism here also means the display on the RAZR, it needs to move around to compensate for the curve when folding. And that means it creaks more, and the hinge also ends up having more space to potentially let dust and debris in. Now, Moto says it should be fine, but if you guys remember, that's one of the main problems faced by the foldable AMOLED panel on the original Samsung Fold, and Samsung had to tighten up the tolerance there with a revised version, something they've carried on over to the Z Flip. Now, there are no visible gaps, and the hinge mechanism even contains tiny brushes to keep the dust out. So while we are talking durability, technically Samsung's Infinity Flex here is supposed to be the first glass covered foldable, and again, technically that's true. But the glass on the Z Flip is covered by a plastic layer that for all intents and purposes gives the Z Flip all the cons of a plastic display. Now this is something that was demonstrated in detail on Jerry Rig Everything. So check out those videos for more information on that. Now moving on, the RAZR has the smaller display, and despite the larger form factor, now we have a 6.2-inch panel here, 21:9 aspect ratio. The resolution is 876 by 2142. So yes, the resolution here is less than Full HD, but the 373 pixels per inch pixel density means it feels sharp enough. On the flip side, pun intended, we have a 2.7-inch gOLED display that's useful for notifications, quick replies, and of course taking selfies with the rear camera. The Z Flip has a similar screen as well that offers some of these functionalities, but it is more limited in scope because it's just 1.1 inches. So it's something you just use to say quickly, check time and notifications, and maybe frame your selfies. Open up the Z Flip though, and we are greeted by a 6.7-inch AMOLED panel. The colors, the contrast, it's what we've come to expect from a Samsung flagship display. Now, while the differences so far might not have been great, both phones, they've had their own pros and cons. But the next thing that we're going to see, now this is one area where Samsung have just blown Motorola away. Here's where Samsung takes a substantial lead: the internals. Now, in what could have been termed a dick move, Samsung went in with last year's flagship chip, the 855 Plus, and not the 865 for the Flip. So Samsung's most expensive phone this year, at least for Q1, with this awesome foldable display. If you want to go for it, you got to settle for last year's flagship chip. So that's not too kind for the end consumer, right? But I'm going to have to praise Samsung for it, because the other flip phone, the other one with the foldable display, that's from Motorola. Here Motorola's gone for a 2-year-old mid-range chip, the Snapdragon 710, which makes Samsung look like angels for going with the 855 Plus. Hey Moto, if you're watching, Snapdragon 710 is for 10K phones, and by 10K, I mean 10K rupees and not 10K yuan. I guess that's probably a translation mistake somewhere, but any which way is coming back. Now, it's not just the chip inside. Samsung Z Flip outspecs the RAZR everywhere else. The weight, RAZR 205 grams, the Z Flip 20 grams-ish lesser with an all-glass body nonetheless. That makes the Z Flip easier to pocket, which is one of the biggest selling points for a flip phone, right? Then the battery, 2510 mAh on the RAZR, 3300 on the Z Flip. Both have 15-watt fast charging, but the Z Flip has wireless charging support, and on top of it, reverse wireless charging support too, which might be an added bonus given neither phone has support for a headphone jack. So you're gonna have those wireless earphones with you, so charging them might be a pro. RAM storage, 6128 on the RAZR, 8256 on the Z Flip. Now there's no micro SD on either, so the extra storage, welcome addition. Now forget micro SD, the RAZR has no slots whatsoever. It relies just on a single eSIM. The Z Flip on the other hand has eSIM, but on top of that, Samsung also offers support for a regular nano SIM. 10 megapixel selfie camera on the Z Flip, it's actually quite good in comparison to the 5 megapixel selfie snap on the Moto RAZR, which did not really wow us. Even with the rear cameras, the Z Flip seems to have a dual camera setup with a decent 12 megapixel primary with an f1.8 lens that's optically stabilized, and that's paired with a 12 megapixel ultra wide. The RAZR on the other hand has a 16 megapixel rear camera that's you could term it average to above average at best, and then there's a TOF sensor. The software, disappointingly, the RAZR is still on Android 9 Pie. I don't understand why. And I didn't mean for that to rhyme at all. I'm so sorry. The Z Flip, on the other hand, it's on Android 10 with One UI 2.0. Now, like I said before, on the Moto, the second display also pulls double duty as a notification taker, quick switch for settings, and viewfinder for selfies. That's where Moto has put in their software efforts. We even have a gesture that lets us check out notifications at a glance. On the other hand, when it comes to the Z Flip, since the second screen here is smaller, Samsung have instead developed most of their unique features around that foldable display itself. Now, the Z Flip can be folded into half. Samsung is calling this their flex mode, and what it essentially does is turn the Z Flip into a tiny little laptop. Right now, there are only 3 apps that support it, but I think that's a really unique idea, and it might work great for email and even YouTube video. Think about it, YouTube in the top half, comments on the bottom. Anyway, even without the flex mode, this laptop kind of option for the display makes video calling quite easy, especially if you have the Z Flip on a desk. And now we get to the pricing, and here's the kicker. You see how Samsung's outspecking Moto throughout most of this video, right? In the US, the Z Flip retails for $1,380 US, whereas the RAZR it sells for $1,500 US. In India, the Z Flip's launched for 1,10,000 rupees, and even if the RAZR ends up launching a little cheaper, cheaper than the US pricing, even if if Motorola manages to match Samsung's pricing or even come in a little cheaper at 1 lakh, the Z Flip seems to be the much better option here. Samsung kind of seems to be looking at the future with the Z Flip, while Motorola seems to be intent on cashing in on the past. And that's just my 2 cents. What do you think of both these phones? Though the Z Flip is actually the better foldable, do you see yourself spending on foldables right now, or would you wait for the technology to evolve, costs to come down? Let me know in the comments below. And with that, we get to the end of this video, and it's time I bid you adieu. Thumbs up, thumbs down, based on whatever you felt about it. Subscribe, turn on notifications by hitting that bell icon if you haven't yet. And thanks a lot for watching. Till next time, my name's Ash. You've been watching C4E Tech, and I'm signing off for now. You guys have a great day. Bye-bye.